Okay, so let's continue with 처음으로. This is used when talking about things for the first time. So it's kind of related to 시작하다, right? This is talking about starting things. And 처음으로 is talking about things for the first time. So we've got an example sentence here. 어제 처음으로 한국어 수업을 들었어요. So 어제 is yesterday. That's yesterday there. And then 처음으로 is our for the first time. Yesterday, for the first time, I had Korean class. So in Korean, you can actually use this 듣다 verb. Literally, 듣다 means to listen, but you would usually translate 수업을 듣다 instead of like I listened to a class to just be I had a class or I took a class. And 한국어 is obviously Korean. So yesterday, for the first time, I had Korean class. Can I just say 처음? Yeah, you can. So 처음, it's sometimes shortened to 처음, but you've got to be careful because it'll sound like 좀. It might sound like 좀, which is a different word. This means like a little bit. So it's a little bit different from 처음. So just be a little bit careful about that. People might get confused. And my pronunciation also is not perfect, so I struggle a little bit with those differences too. 좀 versus 처음. Yeah, slightly different. Okay, so 처음으로 is an adverb that can be added to a sentence to mean you're doing something for the first time. It's commonly written as just 처음, where the 으로 particle is dropped. So see how this 으로 is in brackets because it's not always required. You can drop it. It's also commonly seen in the form 처음에 or 처음에는. And we're going to sort of compare those a little bit to see the differences. And then, so it means at first or in the beginning. I suggest not shortening until you can pronounce the full word properly. Yes, I agree. So since I have struggled, differentiating these pronunciations with my own mouth, I would say the full word just to make sure that I'm not going to confuse anybody to think I'm saying this if I try and shorten it. It's a good tip. If you're very comfortable with your pronunciation and your pronunciation is very good, then maybe you can shorten it and there'll be no problems. But 처음부터 means from the start. Yes. 처음부터 means from the start or from the first time. Yeah. Do you have a YouTube channel? Yes, you can find a link to our YouTube page in our bio. We have a link to it up there as well. So, how do you use this in a sentence? Well, you just stick 처음으로 before the verb. So, the verb 말하다. Does anyone know what 말하다 means in Korean? This verb right here. 말하다. It's a pretty common word. Talking, to speak. Yes, perfect. Could mean either of those things. To speak, to talk. 말하다. So, to speak for the first time, you just stick 처음으로 in front of it. So, either 처음으로 or 처음. And then becomes 처음으로 말하다, to speak for the first time. So 한국어를 처음으로 말해요. I speak Korean for the first time. 한국어로 잘 하고 싶어요. Fighting, you can do it. I believe in you. So this next one, 타다. Does anyone know what this verb means in Korean? 타다. I do not teach KIAP levels, sorry. 타다. It's commonly used with transportation methods. To ride. Yes, thank you, everybody. 타다, 처음으로 타다. To ride for the first time. And here we have this, I thought 타 means everybody. 다 means all or everyone. But 타 타다 is to ride. So slightly different word. But yeah. So we have 시작하다, which we just had before in the previous chapter in this book. 처음으로 시작하다. Anyone remember what 시작하다 is? I'm sure someone out there will remember it from just earlier. 시작하다. 만나다 is meeting. Yes. Folvix, thank you. 시작하다 is to start. So to start for the first time, and we had someone say 만나다 is to meet for the first time. So those are all useful common verbs you might use 처음으로 with. So let's see it used in a sentence. We have some example sentences here. First one here is 어제 한국어를 처음으로 말했어요. So I had a similar one to this I just said actually earlier. 어제, anyone know what 어제 means? We had it earlier in this live stream, so people probably recognize 어제. Yesterday, Leoniana, yes. 어제 is yesterday. 한국어를 is Korean. 처음으로 말했어요. Remember, 말했어요 is the same one up here. It means to speak. So this one says, I spoke Korean for the first time yesterday. It is in the past tense. We have the 했어요 part. And we also are talking about 어제. So it makes sense that it's in the past tense. Helen, yes, perfect. 언제 means when. Yes. But this is 어제. Yes. So 어제 is yesterday. 언제 is when. Yeah. So that one little difference changes the meaning. Okay, what about this next one? 비행기를 처음으로 타고 있어요. 비행기. Anyone recognize this word? 비행기. Pronunciation is hard. Yes. Luniara, thank you. Airplane. I even put like a little emoji. Amazing. 비행기 is airplane. Airplane. 처음으로 타고 있어요. Does anyone recognize this form here? So we know that 타다 means to ride. We had it up here. What does 타고 있어요? Does anyone recognize this one? Like know what it's called or how it sort of translates to? Yesy, yeah, riding. This is the present progressive form. So 타요 is just ride. But 타고 있어요 is riding. So it comes into the present progressive form of the verb. So something that you're in the process of doing, something that's currently happening, that's presently progressing, is this 거 있어요 form. So it's doing something, this ing form. So plain, for the first time, I am riding. I am riding an airplane for the first time. I don't know if anyone remembers the first time they rode an airplane. I'm not sure. I don't think I do remember the first time. I was quite young when I first rode an airplane. But if it was recently, you could say 비행기 or 지금, right now, 비행기를 처음으로, for the first time, 타고 있어요. I'm riding it. And we might not say riding in English. It sounds like a little bit weird. You could also translate this to like I'm on a plane for the first time or I'm taking a plane for the first time. That's also fine. I thought it was past tense. Yeah, it does have this double shed on the bottom, but it is the present progressive form, this 거 있다 form. What about this next one? 처음에는 한국어가 어려웠어요. Okay, so now we have 처음에는. Now this is used when you use this air particle. This air particle is a time-related particle. It's used with times. So this is when you're treating this 처음, this first time, as a specific time that you did something. Yesy, yeah, good job, that's perfect. So, and then we have the topic particle, making this first time the topic of our sentence. So as for at first, or as for the first time, or as for in the beginning. This book is Conversational Korean Grammar. 한국어가, this is Korean, 어려웠어요. 어려웠어요. What does this mean in Korean? I know someone already said it in, so maybe that gives it away. But this is to be difficult or to be hard. And the tricky thing about this verb is it's a beep irregular verb. So its dictionary form is actually this. 어렵다. Yeah. Yesi, bookie, yeah. This is the dictionary form of to be hard or difficult. And because it's this special beep irregular verb, it becomes 어려웠어요 when you translate it, when you convert it into past tense. Hi, Kakatsu. Good to see you. So be careful with these beep irregular verbs. If you want to practice those, you'd have to go back to an earlier chapter to practice the beep irregular, or search it online to practice them. They're very common, particularly with descriptive verbs. Verbs like hot, cold, difficult, easy, they're all beep irregular verbs. But this is what it becomes in past tense. So, at first, Korean was hard. As for the first time, or as for at the beginning, Korean was difficult. It was difficult. And that's true, I think, for everybody, right? Everyone, when you're first learning a language, it's really hard. So you can say this. 처음에는 한국어가 어려웠어요. It was hard. 지금도 어려워요. It's still hard. May I know what book you're using? This is Conversational Korean Grammar, and this is the cover. Does it also apply with 씁니다 forms? Does what? Like the 거있다, the beep irregular? I'm not sure. If you conjugate this with the 씁니다 form, it actually just stays the same. 어렵습니다, because this change only happens when you're conjugating something that starts with a vowel sound. It's a little bit confusing, basically because you're adding or yo, or us also to the beep irregular. It's kind of like a chemical reaction. If you're conjugating something that starts with a vowel sound to a beep irregular, it activates this irregular change. But if you're conjugating something that doesn't start with a vowel sound, see, 씁니다 starts with a consonant sound, right? It starts with this the shit, so it stays the same. It does not change. Think of this as like some sort of chemical reaction. When you're starting something, adding on something that starts with a vowel, then it activates this beep irregular. Otherwise, it just stays the same. Gumi, bye. Thank you for joining. Can you show the cover again? Yeah, this is the cover. Feel free to screenshot it if you want to find it later. Thank you for doing this. You're welcome. Happy you're here. Okay, let's look at this next sentence. 우리가 오늘 처음 만났어요. So this one has dropped some particles, but we can still figure out what it's saying, right? 우리가, 우리. What does 우리 mean in Korean? It's a word used for today is the first time we met. Yeah, good job. Today we met for the first time. Maybe Helen, yeah. This means we met for the first time today. 영어 발음이 너무 빨라요. 미안해요. Okay, I'll try and talk a little bit slower. So today, for the first time, we met. We met for the first time today. Couldn't you put today first? Yes, you can put today first if you like. There's not a rule against that. You can basically put 처음 multiple places in a sentence, and it's fine. People will understand just perfectly what you mean, wherever you like. Okay? Okay. What about this last one? What's the name of this book? What's 어리? Isn't 어리 duck? 우리 is we. 어리, I might be wrong, but I think 어리 is duck. Yeah. So a little bit different as well, just that change in vowel. But 우리, which is what we have here, is we. Or us. or even hour. Yeah. Okay. So 2019년에 or 2020년에 처음으로 배우기 시작했어요. So this is pretty clear what this means, right? 년 means year. So in the year 2020, again, this is our time particle. We had the time particle up here with Tom. It's appearing again down here with this year. How is it written 2020? How do you know when to pronounce Lil as R or L? Okay. I started learning Korean in the beginning of 2020. Helen, yeah. Good job. That was perfect. 처음으로. So in the year 2020, 처음으로, for the first time, 배우기 시작했어요. I started doing 배우다. Does anyone know what 배우다, this verb, means in Korean? 배우다. To learn. Yes, thank you, Yessi. And lilols, yeah. 배우다 means to learn. Or to study as well is okay. So in 2020, for the first time, I started learning. And the object is not defined. We don't know what it is that they were learning. Could be anything, could be Korean, could be cooking, could be dancing. It's just implied in the conversation. But they started doing it, whatever it is, in the year 2020. I started learning for the first time in 2020. Study 공부해요. Yeah. Someone asked about, is 기 something you stick on? Yeah, so we just, in the previous chapter, learned about 기 시작하다, how you attach 기 to a verb, and then add 시작하다 to say that you start doing something. 기 in itself is its own kind of grammar form, and it's a kind of more intermediate grammar form. It's not taught on its own until later in the book, but it is a little bit of a special thing as well, and you can study 기 as well separately. You got other stuff we learned earlier. Is this like that throughout the book? Yes. So this whole book is designed to build on each other. So the lessons that you learn later on in the book incorporate things that you've learned before. So as you progress through the book, you're building your skills from in the beginning when you're just, learning about, conjugations and particles. Slowly over time, we start adding in more vocab, start adding in more grammar to develop and build over time. Yeah, thank you. And then this is the book Conversational Korean Grammar. Oh, I sound like I'm English? Yeah. I'm a New Zealander originally, but it does sound similar to British English. It looks kind of complicated. Yeah, learning a language is complicated. It's hard. There's a lot of rules to know, but having a book to guide you through it helps a little bit. I love your nails. Thank you. When's the next live? So the next live, I think, will either be on Saturday or Sunday. I usually try and do either Saturday or Sunday, depending on sort of my schedule. So one of those days. And it'll be at the same time as this one, so from like 6 to 6:45. It's helpful. I'm glad it's helpful. But that's basically it for Tom. I have a final note here about comparing these three things together. Tom versus 처음으로 versus 처음에는. Basically, Tom is just a noun. It's just a noun that means the first time. Whereas 처음으로 is an adverb. This is an adverb, meaning for the first time. Doing something in the action is the first time. And 처음에는 means at first or in the beginning.